the chat. Oh, there we go. I do see it. So I guess we are live. All righty. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to another night sky tour with CTC's astronomer, um, Warren Hart. He is here again to give us our December constellations and what's going on in our night sky in December. So, hi Warren. Have you had a great holiday?
I had a great one, thank you.
All righty. Well, take it away, sir.
All right, thank you. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in here or clicked in, whichever the correct term might be. So let's start off, Cindy, with our calendar, and let's take a look at our first page of it. And
All
here we
righty.
go, getting
So,
over.
before we do that, though, you guys can follow along from our astronomy live guide. We put that in the comments. So now there's your calendar.
All right, so let's scroll and get there. Here we are on the last day of November. So we'll be looking for, as tomorrow, we'll have, Cindy will have posting the 2 sets of the puzzles for December and November. So the answers to the November puzzles will be posted, and the new December puzzles to start off will also be posted by tomorrow. And you can see here, Cindy is scrolling down to show you on the LibGuides where you would find the puzzles. You can find back copies of previous ones and get in the habit of solving each one of them. All three are astronomy-based questions and answers. So it's nothing out of the ordinary that we have here. It's all astronomy related.
And
Okay.
we've got a contest that if you can upload a picture of your answers on each one of the puzzles and send it to us. And the person with the correct, or the first person to get the correct answers, we will have a prize for you. We've already posted all the other months, so it's just your December puzzle. So good luck on that.
Very good. Thank you, Cindy. Well, let's look at the calendar again, and we'll see that coming up on Thursday, there will be what we indicate here will be our earliest sunset of the year. And at our latitude here at the planetarium, this is what works out. And so you see it will be at 5:28 p.m. For that as the earliest sunset of the year. Now, on Friday, we then begin going through the 10 constellations that are listed for December. And the first one there is the constellation of Taurus the Bull. And if you notice, Cindy, if you want to go ahead and click on Taurus with the title up there, also indicates that how bright it is. It's the 12th brightest of all the 88 constellations, the 89 areas, and the 17th largest. And that area in the white is what is reserved, if you will, set aside by the professional astronomers for the area to be known as Taurus the Bull. And all of that information with the numbers and the yellow circles and all of that, if we scroll down, Cindy, to the second page, that is where you will find the answers and the information for each of those different things. The listing there of the stars, and starting with number 1, as you notice, it says Omicron Tauri, and then it goes on down. And then after number 4 is a capital letter A, and it indicates that's a Messier 45. And we see it there. And if you go back to the first page, you'll see over on the right-hand side in the upper right corner of Taurus the Bull, there is the symbol for the letter A, and that circle is the indication of what that is, Messier 45. And it's a very familiar uh, area. There it is a group of stars, and it has a number of names. So let's scroll back down again, Cindy, to the second page and read there in that line, there, Messier 45. Now, for those who are not familiar, Messier was a French astronomer back in the 1700s. He was looking primarily for comets, and he was using the latest technology at the time, which was only 100 years old, so it was very, very primitive. Galileo was the first one back in the 1600s with the telescope. But anyway, reading on there, Messier 45, another name, Melot 22. But look over on the right, and you'll see there is a name, and it says Pleiades, or depending on how you want to pronounce it, Pleiades. Now, also in the book in Hebrew, there is a name for it also, Klima. And in the second line, in Japanese, the Pleiades is Subaru. And if you have the vehicle Subaru, you can look on your license plate at the logo and see what that is. And then also, if you notice, and some other names to it are the Seven Sisters. Excuse me, got a cough. Pardon me. And then I call this also there. I have 4 dippers, and this is the teeny dipper. And why? Because I get asked by a number of people at times when I'm showing that in the planetarium or in the sky, and they say, "Is that the Little Dipper?" I say, "No, that is to me the teeny dipper." So I have teeny dipper, little dipper, big dipper, and the giant dipper. And we will talk about that at another time. Also, the last thing about Messier 45 there, it is the brightest open cluster in the sky, and you can see it with the naked eye, and that's what's so significant about it. You can scroll on down there on the numbers as far as the star listings, and then you get down to number 15, the star Aldebaran, and that is, if you will, the eyeball of the head of the bull, Taurus the Bull, and there's a lot of information that is talked about it there. It's one of the 4 royal stars of the ancient Persians, and you can go on with additional information. And we scroll on down. Excuse me. Uh, the other thing that I want to emphasize for you, if you're going to try to learn additional parts of the area, the part down there that says the 7 bordering constellations in a clockwise order around Taurus. So let's scroll up to the top of the first page, and real quickly, you'll see, scroll just a little more there, Cindy. There we go. At the very top, you see it says in the dark area, Perseus. So that's number 1. Going clockwise, then we go Perseus, Aries, Cetus, Eridanus down at the bottom. Come back up. You're going on the left side. Orion, you go up to Gemini, and you wind up at Araga. So by learning what the constellations that border Taurus the Bull, then you can begin to expand an area of the sky that you become more and more familiar with. Two things also that is labeled for Taurus the Bull. If you notice going across it from left to right, right to left, is a blue line titled the ecliptic. And that's the path of the sun throughout the year. And also the planets and the moon travel along that same general line. So one thing we would title Taurus the Bull, it is an ecliptical constellation because the eclipse is there. Another thing, if you'll look down at the very bottom of Taurus the Bull, the white area, you will see a brown line that goes across, and that's the equator in the sky. And notice there's just a little segment of Taurus the Bull. So Taurus is also an equatorial constellation. It is both an ecliptical and an equatorial constellation. And by stating that, that will give you a general idea of where you would look for it in the sky. All right, let's go back to the calendar. And you'll see for all the constellations there on Friday, the very first one mentioned, that I do see as far as viewing, that you would start viewing it after the sunset on Friday the evening, and you would continue on to sunrise of Saturday morning, what you can. Now, on Saturday, we have two additional things that are listed there. First, we have the new moon for the orbit of the moon as it goes around the Earth. And here it comes as a new moon, and which means that the moon is in between Earth and the sun. And we actually would not be able to see the moon because we would be looking at its dark side and we're looking straight at the sun. So we're not going to be able to see it. And then you see that it says at the new moon, and that 1:41 a.m. is the precise point and space and time in the sky. And then it starts right from there with its waxing crescent phase. Waxing is an old English term meaning growing in strength or size or whatever. And so as time goes on, we will begin to see more and more of the illuminated side of the moon that we can see here on Earth. And then also, because of a new moon, down just below at 4:01 a.m. Saturday morning is the closest of the 13 Perigee moons for the month of December. And perigee, I'm reminded by what that means. I think of the word perilous. So this means that the orbit of the moon is a circle that goes around, but it's not a constant radius. It is like an egg. It's an elliptical formation, the following path. And so there is a time when it is the closest, and that's what the perigee is. And there will be, we'll see later on, there will be what's called an apogee, which means it's the farthest away. Let's look at the second week. And we see on there another interesting thing. On Monday the 6th, our moon, it says that for the year of 2021 here, this is the southernmost point in the sky for the moon throughout the year. The moon's path around the Earth is tilted approximately 8 degrees from our path, Earth, as we go around the sun. And so the path of the moon is inclined about 8 degrees, and it slowly oscillates up and down throughout the year. And this is the time of the year in December that happens that it will go at its most southern point in the sky that we would be able to notice and see there. Then, and that's, we have noticed a third thing about this year. On Tuesday the 7th, we have the planet Venus, and it's going to be its brightest also this year at that bright magnitude of a minus 4.67. So looking up on Thursday the 2nd, we have the earliest sunset of 2021. We look on Monday the 6th, we have the southernmost point of the moon this year. And on Tuesday the 7th, we have the brightest of Venus for the year. So a number of things that we have here throughout the year that's happening in December. We go next to then Wednesday the 8th. Our next constellation is Calum, the sculptor's chisel. And we can, Cindy, if you want to click on Calum. And the similar thing, there is a description how bright in comparison and how large is it and its area. And you also notice there's not a whole lot of stars there to deal with. And that's why it's pretty dim. As you can see, it's 86th brightest out of the 88 constellations, 89 areas in the sky. Scroll down, if you will, to the second page, and it's very, very basic. And also, there are the bordering constellations around Calum. And again, starting at the northern border of it, there's the listing of the 6 different constellations. So you can use each one to begin to learn more and more about as you the part of the sky that you're becoming familiar with. So let's go back to the calendar, if you would please, Cindy. And we go from Wednesday, we go on over to Friday, and the moon has progressed from on Saturday the 4th to now Friday the 10th, and we now come to our first quarter moon. Again, precise point, precise time of when it's happening, and it's continuing its waxing, growing, but instead of just being a waxing crescent, it now becomes a waxing gibbous phase. Gibbous is an old, also an English term, and it means hump, H-U-M-P. So it will look on there like it has a bulge on the area that we can see that's reflecting the light from the sun as it reflects off the surface of the moon. Going to our third week, we go, and on the 13th, we have a meteor shower, and it is, notice it starts at 6 in the evening. It's Gemini, so it means it's coming out of the constellation called Gemini, the twins. And the time to watch for a meteor shower, of course, is throughout the night. And predominantly, as time goes on, as you go from the evening part of the Friday, Monday the 13th, as you get into the midnight and the early morning of Tuesday the 14th, it gets better as far as being able to see the meteor shower of the constellation there of Gemini, and that works pretty well the same for all meteor showers. It gets better throughout the night, and the best time is early, early, early the following morning. We have also on Monday the 13th, we have our next constellation, Dorado, the Swordfish, and we can quickly click on that portion of the calendar on there. And you notice we have here on that, there's that information. Notice also that Dorado is far enough south that we have this light brown uh, line, and it's labeled CTC, the planetariums, our southern horizon. What that means is everything from that dashed line up we can see. So we can see stars that are labeled as number 1, number 2, and number 3. And then that is our southern horizon there. And then 4, 5, 6, and also the uh, Magellanic Cloud galaxy there. We cannot see it unless we go down to the south. Let's scroll down to the second page, if you would, please, Cindy. And go ahead through that one. And we come, and there you have then, as you go on down, you see the name of the stars in order. There's the letter A, which is the LMC abbreviation for Large Magellanic Cloud. It's labeled after, if you will, and if you read there in that paragraph, the last sentence, it's named after the Portuguese sailor Ferdinand Magellan, the first European to record the sighting of this galaxy in his diary during his circumnavigation of Earth. So in honor of his diary and it getting returning that information back to Europe in honor this. It's called the Magellanic Cloud because that's all they knew back in the 1500s, and not until the 1900s did we begin to realize that that was actually another galaxy that's on beyond our own Milky Way. And then you go on down, there's some more information there. There's your bordering constellations. There is also some additional information that I put in there for you, and the southern ecliptic pole, and just additional things to learn about each of the constellations. So let's go back, if you will, to our calendar, and let's follow along. And we will go clear over, if you will, to Friday the 17th. And if you scroll up just a little bit, Cindy, and let's no, the other way, please. Okay, keep going a little bit more. Okay, easy. And now scroll down so we can get on Saturday the 4th, the second part of it. There's our Perigee Moon information, and come down just real easy. There you go. And there we now on the 17th. Here is the Apogee Moon. Remember, I told you the perigee is when it's the moon is the closest to the Earth in its orbit. Here on this orbit for the month of December is when the moon is the farthest from the Earth during that orbit as it goes around. Now, we have a busy Saturday the 18th. The sun is going to go and will go into the ecliptical constellation of Sagittarius. It leaves the Scorpion, and also on Saturday, I'll get it right here, Saturday the 18th at 5:30 will be in the planetarium, will be my night sky tour for the constellation, the 7 constellations of January. That's that evening. And then also that same night at 10:35, we have gone from new moon, first quarter, and we're now at a full moon. Notice that once we reach a full moon, the time and the point in space we go from waxing to the next English term of waning. And so the illuminated side that reflects the sun's light from it as it strikes on the surface of the moon, it's going to begin to decrease. And it's going to decrease, and it's going to be a waning gibbous phase. So that's what we have. Let's scroll down on our second page.
Well,
And
what about looking at Sagittarius?
oh, well, let's do
We
that.
didn't we didn't look at our constellation yet.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius, as you see, has got some additional information there. Notice, first of all, there in the right-hand corner of it, bottom of the right-hand corner, in green, it says is the galactic center. Well, what does that mean? That means that is the center of our own Milky Way. How is that determined? Since we actually visibly, we cannot see it. Why can we see it? Because there happens to be a giant cloud, a nebulous cloud, and that nebula means cloud in Latin, that is in between us here on Earth and the center of our Milky Way galaxy. So how in the world was that ever determined that that is the galactic center if we can't see it? Well, a number of years ago, an astronomer was using what we call radio astronomy, and every star, every sun sends out a radio signal from it. And he began to plot the point in the sky where these signals were coming from. And the closer he got to an area, he kept getting more and more and more of those signals. And finally, he began to determine, and it's been validated, that that point there in Sagittarius is the center of our galactic uh, galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, we call it, even though we cannot visibly see it, it can be picked up via radio astronomy. And that's how that happened. And so the sun, as you see, is there coming, and you notice it says the sun at its winter solstice. We will see that in a little bit, that the sun has entered Sagittarius, and on the 21st, it will be at that point. So thank you, Cindy, for reminding me to get us on there. And there we see on that. And now we go to our fourth week. And over on Sunday, the 19th, we have an additional constellation, Mensa, and that is Latin for mesa, like a table mountain. And we can look at this. And if you'll go to that page for the constellation, and notice how where the southern horizon is. It's above the Mensa constellation area. So we cannot see any part of Mensa. Notice there where it goes through, you see it's in the darker area, but there is Dorado, which we just talked about, and will be able to see the upper part of Dorado, but down where the large Magellanic Cloud is outlined, we will not see that unless you travel to the south. And as you can see, it's closer to the South Pole in the sky, but we cannot see it. And that's what we have there. Now, let's go back to the calendar. And we have there on the 19th, that's Mensa. And even though we cannot see it, someone may from a different part of the world may be able to see it. And so that's why I have on there information about it in case a person can see it from their location. Let's now go to Tuesday, the 21st. And what do we have here? We have in the morning, 9:59, we have that winter solstice. Do you remember that piece of information and on the map on Sagittarius? The winter solstice, and it says there in its apparent annual motion is at its greatest angular distance. There, 23 and what do we have? A half degrees south of the celestial equator. And for us in the northern hemisphere, we call this our winter solstice. If you went down to Australia, New Zealand, Antarctica, southern part of Africa, this would be known as their what? Not winter solstice, but what? Their summer solstice for them. And then also on the 21st, we have two additional constellations. We have Lepus the hare or the rabbit and the constellation of Orion. So let's go to Lepus there for us first, please, Cindy. And there it is. And there's the information about it. And this is called the rabbit or the hare. And you notice if you look just above it, there is Orion. And the reason it's picked first because it's just a little bit east, if you will, of the center point for Orion. And so we'll get it just a little bit later. And Lepus has the same kind of information on its second page like we have on all the others. So we would see that, and you would scroll down through, and there's your bordering constellation and the other information. Now let's go to Orion, if you would please, Cindy. And here we have Orion. And if you'll go back up to the top of the constellation page, I've added there on this an additional line, and you notice there at the very top, going across, it's CTC's, our planetarium's latitude. And so what this indicates is that line that goes across there at the top is what is directly over us throughout the year. That latitude in the sky corresponds to our latitude north of the equator, and that is directly overhead as we go throughout the year. And then we come down and we notice Orion, would it be called an ecliptical constellation? No, because the eclipse
Equatorial.
doesn't intersect any part of Orion. But look down in the middle of Orion and you see the equator. And yes, Orion is an equatorial constellation. It straddles the northern and the southern hemisphere. And all of those stars and the additional pieces of information is on our second page. And if you'll scroll down, Cindy, for us, we'll go and keep going, go through that one. And there's a big long list of all the stars. And number 9, Rigel, is the brightest star in the Orion, and there's information about it. You go on down a little bit, right below number 14, there's the letter A, and there is another Messier, M42, and you get the information about it. And you scroll on down, and there's number 20, star number 20, Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And you see that it is not the brightest, but it's the largest of all the stars there in Orion. And there's the asterisms, and then there's the bordering constellations and the other information for it. So there's a lot there, and Orion and Lepus are interesting in part of a story that I tell in the planetarium that includes Orion, Lepus, Taurus the Bull, Gemini, the twins, uh, Canis Major, the big dog, Canis Minor, the little dog, a whole big long story to help people learn that part of the sky. So if you have the opportunity, we'd love to have you come uh, there to the planetarium, and we'll have time that I can tell you that story, and we'll fix it in your mind so that you can pick it out throughout the year when it's visible for you. All right, let's go back to the calendar. Now, we have gone, we want to go to Wednesday the 22nd. We have our next calendar, our constellation, that's Pictor, the painter's easel. And let's scroll and take a look at it. And as you scroll down, you'll notice there is, oh, there's our southern horizon. So that means we can see a percentage of Pictor. We can see the stars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up, we can't see 6. And unfortunately, scroll down if you will, please, Cindy, to page number, keep going. And you notice that number 6 listed there, Alpha Pictoris, is the easternmost, southernmost, and it's also the brightest, but you can't see it because it's below the horizon. Now we can go back up to the first page, and you have your bordering constellations and the other pieces of information for you there. It is not an equatorial, nor is it an ecliptical constellation, because neither of those parts of the sky will come in contact with Pictor here. Let's go to the, if you will, to the calendar, and we'll go to our last week, and we have the constellation of Columba, Noah's dove. In fact, this is the last and only constellation listed in the of all the constellations with a biblical reference to it. And there is Columba. So let's scroll and find Columba, take a look at it. And there you see Noah's dove. And also, as you look, we can see all of Columba. Okay, and if you want to scroll down to the second page there it comes. There's the information, very basic, if you will, the bordering constellations, interesting information. There it is, the only surviving constellation named after an object in the Bible. And so there's your info there. Now let's go back to the calendar page, and we've gone from first quarter new moon, first quarter full moon, and now we go to third quarter moon. And third quarter, we have been waning gibbous after we left the full moon, but now that we're at a third quarter, we continue waning, but it's going to be a waning crescent phase until it reaches in January, when it reaches the new moon, and then it starts over again. We have 2 more constellations for this month. There is a total of 10. So let's take a look on Monday the 27th for Araga, the chariot driver. Okay, and here we go. There he is. There's Araga, and there you see that. And virtually we can see uh, pretty well all that is pertaining to Araga. If you see there at the very bottom of the white area for Auriga and that dark circle, and then the word Taurus underneath it, that star is considered to be in Taurus the Bull. So that's why it's not labeled here. And you see also there is the line across for our planetarium's latitude. So that line right there, if you held it up overhead, would be directly over you as you would look at Auriga. And then notice down below, pardon me, there is the ecliptic. So Auriga, of course, is not an ecliptical constellation, nor is it, as we see it so far north, nor is it an equatorial constellation. So Auriga's fairly uh, basic by it is. Notice there on the diagram, number 5, and it seems to be the largest black circle. It is hard to depict on a page the difference in the brightness, the magnitude of an object in the sky. And so it was designed, it was chosen many, many years ago that the brighter a star or an object is, that will that will be indicated by a larger black circle. So let's scroll down and let's see who number 5 is. And we go on down here and let's go on and let's find number 5. Oh, it is Capella. And if you'll read over to the right, there it is, the VMAG. It is the brightest. It's also the closest. And there. And another thing, down in the interesting information, and I could have put it there up in the other part, but I left it alone. Capella is one of the 6 corners of what's called the winter hexagon, a 6-sided polygon. There's the other parts of it. And the other thing is Capella is very bright and it's very easy. Now let's scroll up, if you will, to the first page, Cindy. Okay, now, good. I want up just a little more. Okay, fine. Notice there the listing on the far left, the stars listed as numbers 6, 7, and 8. What is interesting about this is that these 3 stars virtually are in a perfect straight line from the south at star number 7 to the north at star number 8, pointing directly to the North Pole in the sky, and will also help you to find Polaris, the North Star. How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to, first of all, when you look in the night sky, and you're going to see Capella, the very bright star coming up. And you see to the right and lower part of it are 3 other stars labeled 2, 3, and 4. Those are called the kids, baby lambs. And that indicates for you when you see it, they are a little dimmer, as you can tell, but it tells you then, gives you the indication that if you go to the left of it, which in this case, you're going to go to the uh, eastern side of Auriga, you will find in the 3 stars, 6, 7, and 8 lined up, and they're going to point you toward Polaris and the North Pole. What you want to do is you want to take either your tip of your thumb or the tip of your little finger and put it on number 7, and then whichever is the other, your thumb or your little finger, put that on number 8 and measure that angle. Hold that angle, and if you will, Cindy, just kind of scroll up to the top of the page there, just as best we can. And that number 8 is going to be your rotation point. You're going to then swing that angle from 8 to 7, and you can choose to go to the right or to the left, swing around, and you want to get it again in line with the 6, 7, 8. And then where your point that is not on number 8, that becomes your rotation point. And then you're going to swing again, and you're going to wind up right at Polaris. So what that means is the angle from 7 to 8 or 8 to 7 is 1/2 the distance in angle from 8 to Polaris. The angle from 8 to Polaris is twice the angle from 8 to 7. So there's you another way to find the North Star Polaris. All right, let's go back to the calendar. That was Araga. Let's go to Wednesday, the 29th, and this will be our last constellation of December, and will also be our northernmost constellation for December. And if you'll go and you want to scroll on Camelopardalis just down a little bit and stop right there, go back and where we get a little bit of it more. There you go. How in the world did you come up with Camelopardalis? Well, back when this constellation was found and determined, the largest animal at the time that they were familiar with there in the Middle East was a camel. And so this thing looked, if you can see, it got a long neck and all. So they began to call it a camel. But also, the other thing that was interesting to them was that it was similar to what they call the animal, the leopard. And so they decided to include the two because a camel, its skin is uh, has a leopard-looking skin for the camel. So they decided to name it a leopard camel or a camel leopard. And that's how you get Camelopardalis. There you see leopard in there, and there you also see camel in there. And there you have, and that is our northernmost constellation for December. And so in the planetarium, when we start, I start with Camelopardalis, and I start going down. And if you notice, just above Camelopardalis, there at about the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock position, there's Auriga. And so we would go Camelopardalis, we start going south, we go to Araga, then we go on down a little further, and we go and we finally get down to Mensa at the very last, the 10 constellations. And that's what we will do in the planetarium. Let's go back to the calendar. You see that's the end of the activities for December. And there is January the 1st of 2022. And we start off, and there at the on January the 1st, there is the Perigee Moon for the orbit of the moon in January of next year. Any questions on our calendar for December?
I have a question.
Sure.
If no one else, Alyssa, if there's any other questions, but on you, when you were showing Lepus, you had listed an inventor. Do they consider like the people who discover them to be inventors of a star or a constellation?
Well, let's go to Lepus and let's take a look at that.
You can make me find it, huh?
Okay, now scroll down. Okay, right in there. All right, so where is it?
Maybe it
We're
wasn't
seeing?
Lepus. It may not have been in Lepus. It was in one of the earlier ones, but you had listed an inventor,
Oh, okay. Pictor,
possibly.
the painter's easel.
Yes, there you go. It's I am in Dorado.
Oh, you're in Dorado.
And yes, and it said invented by.
Dorado is okay. Invented. Okay, invented. It would not be a real good. It would be named by. You know, but what he did, notice there, read about him, is in the years 1595 to 97. He was in the. He was naming uh, the constellations in the southern hemisphere because we weren't that familiar with them. Europe was predominantly northern hemisphere constellations. So inventing uh, be probably, I would agree with you, it would be better to say named by,
Okay.
point to bring
Yeah,
out.
because it just struck me as a very,
Yeah,
like, do they consider themselves the inventors of the constellations?
yeah.
So, so
Well, that's a
Alyssa,
good
are there
point.
any
We can
other
change that.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm a librarian. We're used to nitpicking things.
Very good.
And are there no other questions? She says. Okay, so I do want to mention one other thing. And we put this link into the chat. This is our library events calendar. And as you can see, we've already just put a ton of 2022 events, but we list all the dates of Warren's night sky tours that we're doing virtually on that event page. So make sure that you mark your calendar for all of our upcoming events. Our next one is going to be January 5th. We're going to put two in January because we're going to cover all of January on January 5th. And then we're going to do it again on January 26th, and that's going to be for February.
Okay.
So we are, trying to get it in there to coordinate with all of Warren's planetarium shows. And believe me, showing it here is completely different than being in the planetarium, having the sky, the stars above you, and having the ability of Warren to go ahead and point out on a laser pointer where you're looking at. So make sure that you, after you see our virtual night sky tours, you definitely go and check out the planetarium.
Okay, Cindy, if you can go back to the LibGuide that you're showing the calendar for the virtual that you had on there.
Sure.
Okay, right
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Excuse me. Notice there that second paragraph in the middle. The Facebook,
Yes.
that's the link, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We are now going to be putting all of our night sky tours as well as all of our 2022 events on the library's Facebook page. We will be posting the events, the upcoming events on both CTC's Facebook page and the library's Facebook page. And then after our live streams, we will send them on to Central Texas College so that they can go ahead and upload them there. Also, another one of our partners, KNCT, is interested because they do their own planetarium stuff with Mayborn Science Theater. So they will have it as well over there. So we're sharing the wealth of our CTC astronomer and his night sky tours all over campus. And so, we're trying to get everybody to be a night sky astronomer here. So.
Good. Always look up.
One more thing. I want to show everyone on the astronomy calendar. The astronomy lib guide. We have put the time left on when the 2024 eclipse will happen. So make sure you check out the Astronomy and Mayborn Science Theater lib guide on the library's page, because there's our countdown. We've got 859 days left. So make sure you check that out as well.
Yeah, and pray for clear skies that day, because there is no do-over. We can't say, "Oh, I didn't get it. Would you back it up?" Sorry, that's
Yes,
another
we'd have
500
to wait.
years.
Right. I was going to say that would be a very long time to wait for the next one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We always love having you and sharing this partnership with you. Um, if you ever have any questions, definitely go ahead and put them in the comments. And Warren is right there to answer your questions, and he'd love to answer them.
Yeah.
So,
I may
all
not have
righty.
the answer, but I know where to look it up, and then I can give you
Yes.
the answer.
Yes. And so thank you for coming. And tomorrow we have our last Communication Meets Community, which will be in the library. Come and practice public speaking for a prize. The most convincing person gets a prize. Also, tomorrow at 4:30, we have another Writers Guild meeting. And so, check all this out. The library just keeps going with all of our events. And we take suggestions. If you have suggestions for events, let us know. We have a suggestion box over at the library, or you can always email us at referencerequest@ctc.edu, and we will figure out a way to put that event on the calendar. So thank you. So everybody have a great day. Alyssa, thank you for streaming. Warren, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty.